Hello boys and girls, I am Uncle Hal and today I take it upon myself to teach you the basics of trading in Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Today you will learn all the essential skills you need to set you on the path of becoming a full member of the Hand Rubber clan. Our trading journey starts in character creation. You see, initially I wanted to play as Batman, a Botanian, but after seeing what each of the character cultures offer, I decided that playing as an Aserai is better suited to a life of honest trade. Everything we choose about our character's background from here on is focused on trade. His parents were merchants, as a child he was good with numbers, his adolescence was spent around markets, and basically every choice we make is intended to maximize his trade skill. With this chosen background, you can notice that trade has 4 out of 5 focus points. I will detail how focus points work in another video for now. The short version is that the more focus points you have invested into a skill, the more it can passively increase as you do activities related to that skill. In this case, trading and making profits. When it comes to choosing your difficulty, I don't care what settings you choose as long as you enable death. By default, you and other nobles cannot die when falling in battle, but do you really want to live in a world where the rich and powerful are immortal? Trust me, this will come in handy later on, when you want to build your own kingdom on the bodies of your enemies. If it's your first time playing a Mount & Blade game, I recommend you run the tutorial. I personally skipped it because both paths take you to the same place, somewhere in the heart of the Southern Empire near the village of Tevea, which is bound to the city of Poros. More details about thief mechanics are coming in another video. We gotta keep this one focused on trade, otherwise we'd be here for 5 hours. Right now we are on the world map. Let's zoom out and see what we see. Poros, Zeonica, Likaron, and a few other big names. These are the names of big cities, which could be considered the trade centers of the world. In brief, this is where we'll make most of our money as we purchase goods from one city and sell them in another for a tidy profit. First things first, we need some people to protect our caravan. These 3 villages, Zestea, Tevea, and Canoros, have plenty of lads who would like nothing more than to leave home in search of adventure. Recruit as many people as you have available. Ideally, as you walk through towns and villages, you will eventually recruit 20 good men. For basic trading, we don't need any more, because if we go here, we can see that the more soldiers we have in our army, the more it costs to maintain, because you have to pay them their daily wages. Fail to do so and their morale will take a big hit. Do you really want demoralized mercenaries protecting your caravan? I'd say it's a recipe for disaster. 20 recruits aren't a drain on your finances and they make a good deterrent for small bandit parties. Now, these villages produce their own goods and they usually sell their surplus for a fair price, but that info is for an advanced trading guide for now. We'll stick to the basics. For the moment, we are interested in a village producing Midlands Palfrey, a type of horse. There's many types of horses for each of the factions, but this is irrelevant for today's topic. What you want to do is go to a village selling horses and buy a couple of pack mules. Some places sell them dirt cheap for about 80 to 100 dinars each, but if you're unlucky, don't pay more than 150 per beast. Now let's take a moment and discuss the trade interface. You'll be seeing it a lot, whether you like it or not. Now you don't need me to explain the interface, but I want us to be on the same page. So, in the left corner, we got whoever we're trading with. In this case, the village of Canoros. This represents the total money of the merchant, and this is his inventory. You can sort the inventory alphabetically, or by the amounts of items owned, by value, or by type, in layman's terms, category. You have the category of mounts, weapons, armors, and trade goods. Maybe some other things too, but trade goods is what we're primarily interested in. And the best way to separate trade goods from equipment is to either sort by number or by value. Like you do when you purchase something online, you have to sort from cheapest to most expensive. Now in the center you have your own equipment, which we don't care about. And in the right corner we got your inventory. Just like the trader, this is where your items are held, but most important are these 2 numbers. This one is your carry capacity, which is measured in kilograms or pounds or whatever, I don't care. Each trade good you purchase isn't one item, but a whole bundle. A sack of grain has 10 pounds and 2 of these occupy 20 out of the available 70 pounds we can carry. You can further increase your carry capacity with soldiers or with spare mounts. Mules, for example, add 100 pounds of extra carry capacity each. This is what we need them for. Be careful not to surpass the carry capacity with trade goods, otherwise you'll get slowed down and become an easy mark for roaming packs of bandits. This number represents the amount of money you'll have left at the end of the transaction. That is pretty simple to deduce, but the thing you want to pay attention to is making sure you'll have enough money to pay the wages of your mercs for several days. Traveling from city to city trading goods takes time. While we're at it, also pay attention to this number and make sure you have enough supplies to keep your men fed for the duration of your trade journey. Hunger lowers morale, and as I've said, you don't want that. You'll also want to pay attention to the price of the item you're trading. Let's take grain for example. In the town of Marunath, its price is currently 11 bucks a pop. If you pay really close attention, you can see that the number is written with yellow. That's because 11 is the average price of grain. 10 to 13 is the average range written with yellow. If the number is red, that indicates a shortage of grain, which makes it a bad idea to buy from here and a very good idea to sell here. But the color you want to see most as a trader is green, which indicates an overabundance of that item, as it is in the town of Sanala. When an item is in the green price range, that means it's below the average price, and it's a good idea to buy it here and preferably sell it into a town where there's a shortage. Basically, buy green, sell red. The final piece of the interface that I can explain right now is the bulk buy bar. It can also be a bulk sell bar if it's on your side of the screen. You can press this button to buy one item, but as a trader, you're not gonna stop at one. You will make a bulk purchase by dragging this bar to the limit of your money or your carry capacity. Now, as you bulk buy stuff, you will notice that the price will slowly but surely increase. That happens because the more you purchase an item, the more its supply decreases, and as such, the price goes up. You know the basics of supply and demand, don't you? Similarly, as you sell an item, the price will decrease. Now, the most important tip I have for you is to buy green and sell red. But this is not a rule set in stone, this is just advice. In this instance, I purchased olives within the green range, paying between 15 to 18 Deutschmarks per unit, and sold them in the yellow price range, between 35 to 26 Deutschmarks each. I still turned a tidy profit of 1,200 denars in the process, but initially I was expecting to triple my initial investment because of this trade rumor telling me that selling to Sanala pays me 47 per shipment of olives. That 47 would have been in the red price range, but by the time I got there I could only sell the olives in the yellow price range. Rumors are another element of the trade interface, and they represent your information about the market prices in various cities. But before we explain how this mechanic works, we need more context. Okay, let's take a breather. Boy, that's a lot of knowledge I just shared. Maybe too much. You know, in my tutorials I always tend to over-explain game mechanics so that even the newest of players can understand them. Is it a problem? I don't know. I don't care. Let's go back to the main subject. So, you learned the basics, you hired soldiers and purchased beasts of burden, and now you are ready to trade. The lads and the mules represent your initial investment. Personally, I was left with a bit under $500, so at this point I needed to do a trade and make more money, recover my investment and turn a profit. So what you need to do at this point is visit the nearest town, in this case Poros, and enter the tavern. Why the tavern? Because alcohol loosens a man's tongue and he may spill all kinds of secrets to you. Trade secrets, more specifically. You see, in Mount & Blade Warband you had the option to go to the marketplace and assess trade prices. This would be done passively. In Bannerlord, however, you gotta take a more proactive approach. In the tavern, you gotta approach not just the townsmen, but the townswomen and townschildren too, and just listen to what they have to say. Some will complain about the weather, others will have something to say about certain people, but none of that matters to you. I personally kept an eye out for this icon, and if I didn't see it, I didn't even bother paying attention. But when something like this appears, that's a trade rumor. Some trade rumors are complete garbage, like this guy telling me I'll get a profit of 2 denars per bundle of salt transported. Really? But some of the people have some really good info, like this one. 57 denars profit per bundle of cheese. Now I knew that the profit itself would be bigger than the cost of the item, and because that was such a good deal, I didn't inquire about other rumors. I left the tavern, went back to the town center, entered the marketplace, sorted by value, which is something you should always do if you focus on trading, and saw that a bundle of cheese costs 36 rubles. Well, that was the starting purchase price anyway, because as I've said, the more you deplete the supply, the more the price will increase. I only had enough money for 11 shipments of cheese, and you can see that the more I bought, the price increased from 36 to 37 to 38 rupees a piece. Then I saved the game. I advise you to save the game before you purchase something in case you reach your destination only to realize that some other caravan was faster than you, sold the same thing you're selling, and because the town's supply increased and the demand lowered, the profit you had planned is gone and you have to travel to another town to sell your cargo. For the time being, we'll focus on local trading because that's the most reliable method of trade. It's a good thing I saved, because I got ambushed by some forest bandits whose arrows proved too much for me and my men to handle, and we lost all our cargo. Anyway, we reloaded and used more caution this time around, and eventually reached the promised land, Zeonica, where we could sell the cheese and get all that cheddar. 756 shekels may not seem like much, but when you think about it, I spent all I had for that sweet lactose and nearly doubled my money. 350 dinars profit with an initial investment of 406. Not bad for my first trade. But I would not hold that money long, because in the tavern of Zeonica I found another potentially great trade rumor. 43 dinars profit per bundle of furs, so I instantly spent my money and went back to Poros, but this time around, that didn't turn a big profit. I paid 740 coins and got 877 in return. I mean, that is a small profit, but not worth the journey. So why was cheese so profitable and furs weren't? Well, because of several reasons. And analyzing those reasons will help us understand why some trades aren't going to pay off, so that we may avoid them in the future. Reason number 1. The info can get outdated really fast. You see, rumors aren't a reliable source of information because initially, when I purchased the furs, I saw that Poros would buy them for 189 dinars a piece. And when I got there, I sold the first one only for 104, the second for 102, and the last one for only 90 dinars. And I just described reason number 2. As I've said several times already, the prices change depending on the supply and demand in a town. When I purchased the furs, they were desperately needed by the craftsmen of Poros, and they were willing to pay 189 dinars per piece. But by the time I arrived with them, some other caravan must have sold furs there, considerably driving the price down. And each time I sold one of my batches, the price went further down. And at the risk of sounding like a broken record, I need to remind you that something similar happened when I purchased the furs, as the price increased with each unit purchased, and because of that, the profit I got was beneath even my low expectations. So what have we learned? That trade rumors can get outdated really fast, and if you solely rely on them to turn a profit, you will be sorely disappointed. In the trade interface, you can tell the recent rumors apart from the old ones by looking at the text of the rumor. Let's take my olive trade run as an example. When I was in Charas and I purchased the olives, I've been presented with 4 rumors. Sell at Ortygia for 24, grayed out. Sell at Kiyaz for 19, also grayed out. Sell at Sanala for 47, kind of faded but not as grayed out as the first 2, and finally, sell at Marunath for 31 dinars, written with a bright color. Obviously, the 4th rumor was the most recent one, since I just arrived from Marunath with a shipment of grain. The 3rd was a bit older but still somewhat reliable, and the first 2 were really outdated. Now, I could have done the quick thing and double my profit by buying the olives with 15 dinars and selling them to Marunath for 31, but that rumor about Sanala was really tempting. I could potentially triple the initial investment. So I risked it on a long journey and eventually only earned 3,200 dinars with an initial investment of 1,800, essentially earning a profit of 1,400. Not bad, but I didn't even double my investment, let alone triple it, as it was promised by the rumor. But see, this is where the mistake in my thinking lies. A rumor is not a promise. Rumors are a fleeting source of information, but from my limited experience, it's your only one. As your trade skill increases, you can invest money into independent caravans, and they will gather reliable rumors as they travel the world, helping you get accurate info on what's trending on the markets of Calradia. That, and I believe caravans can make you a lot of money passively. I will need to test it out. Alternatively, you can invest in workshops and they will generate another stream of income, but I don't yet know how to do that. As soon as I found out more info about the trade systems, I will share it in an advanced trading tutorial. Till then, further research is required. Now you may wonder, why do I choose to make videos about trade in this game when there's a myriad other activities which are more interesting? Why don't I make videos about combat or sieges or ruling an empire? Well, you see, I was not one of the lucky sons of bitches who got an early copy for this game, and I gotta grow my channel somehow. So I figured most YouTubers covering this game will make videos about its more interesting aspects. If I can be among the first one to make a video about trade, I will gladly do it in hopes of growing this channel. If you like what you're seeing and would like to support this type of video in the future, you can do so by subscribing and liking the video. I hate asking for it, but everyone who does it seems to enjoy a far larger audience than me. But what am I doing getting personal when I should strictly cover the topic of the video? Let's end this on a professional note as I share with you some tricks of the trade. Tip number 1. At first, get to know 2 or 3 towns who are in close proximity to each other. Try to only limit trading between these towns. When I started, I simply limited myself to doing trade runs between Poros and Zeonica. I would purchase stuff in the first town, sell it to the other, try to see what makes a profit when I go back to the first, and so on and so forth. This is what I call local trading, and in the beginning, it's the most reliable way of making a quick buck. Also, the most risk-free. Tip number 2. Because you will eventually stabilize the supply of materials in these 2 towns, trade will run dry. Try to go to another region and do local trading there. One of my most profitable trade routes was between Oxhal, Galend and Pravend, as I would buy wood in one place, double my money in another, buy fish and take it back to Oxhal, doubling my money yet again. Tip number 3. Test things out. If you purchase a resource such as furs, and you see the price steadily increasing for every few units bought, that's a high-risk trade item, as the same can happen in reverse when you sell it. You buy it for some price, sell it the first 2 units at a profit, and end up selling the rest of your cargo at a loss. If you can purchase a lot of units for an item without considerably changing its price, that's a relatively safe item to trade. Take olives, for example. I bought over 100 units and the price only changed from 15 to 18, keeping itself in the green range. When going to sell this batch, I knew the price wouldn't decrease dramatically for each unit sold, and I knew profit was guaranteed, and it was. Tip number 4. As you travel the world, try to remember which goods are produced and required in each zone. Once you get familiar with multiple marketplaces, you don't have to stick to local trading anymore, and you can haul trade goods across the continent and greatly increase your profits. For example, the mountainous regions of Batania don't produce any fish, and the scorching hot desert of the Aserai don't have the conditions necessary for growing grapes. And as such, you might turn a profit supplying these people with the resources they lack. I didn't test the examples I've given out. They're pure speculation. Tip number 5. Buy green, sell red. As it's been repeated to you several times already, you gotta keep an eye on the ever-changing price of the trade goods as you buy them. If the price turns from green to yellow as you purchase something, it's time to stop. Buy something else instead. As you learn the prices of goods and familiarize yourself with the marketplace, as long as you stick to this rule, you are guaranteed to be swimming in profits. Tip number 6. Grow your caravan. As you make more money, invest in more pack mules to increase your carry capacity and generate bigger profits. You can even hire more soldiers once you feel confident in your money-making abilities, but for starters, I won't recommend it. It's one thing to pay 15 dinars per day to 20 recruits, and another to pay 100 per day for competent mercenaries. If you have too many soldiers and you travel across the map on a trade run, you may end up losing more money to your army than you gain from the trade run. As I've said, 20 recruits are a good enough deterrent for small raiding parties, and if you fear you might run into a big group of marauders, simply save your game often. That is your main insurance policy. Tip number 7 ties in with the previous one. If the price of a pack mule is below 100, make a purchase. Once your caravan reaches a town in need of mules and pays 300 per head, sell the mules you don't need for no less than 200 dinars. The bonus is that you will enjoy a greater carry capacity until you find someone willing to pay top dollar for donkeys. Tip number 8. As you travel between cities and trade with each one, you will temporarily unlock trade rumors for those cities. Tip number 9. Food. Food is generally a very safe resource to trade as long as you buy it only when it's within the green price range. I mean, if you don't manage to sell it in time, at least you'll keep your army fed and you can hunt bandits in between your trade runs. For example, if you purchased grain for $9 a pop, you can keep your army fed for cheap until you eventually reach a town which buys it for 18 dinars each. Tip number 10, and probably the most important one, check your trade skill in the character sheet. If you have a sufficient trade level, you will be able to choose between the perks Appraiser and Wholesaler. If you plan to use the tips and tricks you learned today, you will greatly increase your profit if you pick the Wholesaler perk. The 5% bonus may not seem like much, but it stacks with the 10% bonus from being an Aserai, and with the rest of your trade skill. It's a great perk for making money via trading. And finally, tip number 11. Trading is the means, not the end. It's simply the most reliable way of making money, provided you have the skill for it. You know what they say, money is the root of all evil, and in this case it's true, because you will use the money to raise an army and do whatever you want with it. You will be able to raid caravans and steal their trade goods to sell them for a profit, or you'll be able to raid villages and do the same. With a good army at your side, you can crush your enemies and eventually even crown yourself king. On the day of your coronation, perhaps you'll remember the friendly merchant who helped you achieve all your goals through the power of trade. Anyway, I believe this was all I had to say. Trade in this game is an even deeper subject because the simulated economy of Bannerlord is really well made, pretty much as good as X4. Eventually, as I learn more, you can expect more videos on this subject. And regarding the thing I said earlier, perhaps I will also do some videos about the more fun subject, such as fighting and warmongering. Till then, take care of yourselves and make me proud with the profits you'll make. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video. Goodbye.